right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Today, I thought I would just hang out and write some music, talk about what I'm doing, and maybe field questions from the chat while I'm at it. So, I want to write something today, and I just chose the key of B minor, just so we have a starting point. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to pick something very simple. Also, hello. Welcome, everybody. Yes, this is live. Oh, that's not the right window for that. I've got the chat here, so if you have questions for me while we're doing this, let me know. I'm trying to get back into these live sessions. I've had a pretty busy holiday season, and here we are 3 months now after the holiday season. I'm back. I'm trying to make this a regular thing again, so welcome. Thanks for being here. Hi, everybody. But let's go back to the iPad here, and let's talk about... You've probably seen me do this a few times if you've been here before, but one of my favorite things is just to grab random chords from the key and just plop them in here, right? If you want it to sound like it's in the key of B minor, it can help to start with B minor, but you don't have to pick chords in order from there. The idea is just plug some chords in and see how they sound. And so I'm going to do that here, and I'm not going to think too hard about it. Let's just see how this sounds. And I'm actually going to bring this over to the camera guitar. So you'll be able to hear this, and then we'll map it out on the camera guitar. But we got B minor, G, A, and D. That sounds kind of nice. Let's look at the camera guitar and talk about why it's in the key of B minor, what it means for something to be in the key of B minor. And all it means for something to be in a key is that we take the scale starting with that note, and then we only use notes from that scale to make all the chords, bass lines, chord progressions, and stuff like that. So if I hit a B here, well, the formula to make a B minor, to make any minor scale, is to go whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, which, let me map that out a little differently, right? We got B, and we'll put this in green. So we got whole, there's a C sharp. Oops, I'm already off. You'd think I'd be better at this by now. There we go. B, C sharp, so, and then we got a half step here, and then we have we got a whole step, so we're going to E, and I'm going to switch to this E, so it's a little easier to see. Then we got another whole step to F sharp, then a half step to G, another whole step to A, and then we're back to B. Now that was messy, and part of the weird thing about guitar is we've got all these duplicates of notes. Right, you could think of, here's this E, here's this E, here's this E. So when it comes to playing scales, there's a variety of ways to play these scales. Or you could even do it a more wonky way, like... There's all kinds of ways you can play these scales, but the idea is that once we have this set of notes, then we use this set of notes to create chords. And those are going to be the chords in the key of B minor. And the way you make the chords in any major key or minor key is you start on the first note of the scale, and then you play every other note until you get 3 notes. So we've got B, D, and F sharp, and that is the first chord in the key, also called the 1 chord. So that's why B minor is the 1 chord in the key of B minor. Then we go to the second note of the scale, and we play every other note until we've got 3 of them. And this is our wonky diminished 2 chord. And then we go to the third note of the scale, and we play every other note. And that's D, F sharp, and A, and then we find an easier way to play those notes. This is a D chord. Next note of the scale, we go E, G, and B, every other note. That is the 4 chord, because it's the chord starting on the 4th note of the scale. Then we go to the 5th note of the scale, F sharp, A, and C sharp, and that gives us an F sharp minor chord. Then we go to the 6th note of the scale, play every other note. That gives us a G major chord. Go to the 7th note of the scale, the final note of the scale, play every other note, and that gives us an A major chord. So that's why this thing here, the chords in the key of B minor, that's why the chords are B minor, C sharp diminished, D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G, and A. One of the coolest things about this is that means you can kind of goof around and figure out a progression, which a progression is just when you pick a set of chords within the key and you play them in a particular order. So I could go B minor, A, G, A if I want to, and we get... You get kind of a classic sound. We could go B minor, D, E minor. See how that sounds? That's kind of nice. You could also just hang out on that B minor for a long time and then switch to another chord somewhere else, like... You don't have to evenly switch. The general idea is if you have a set of measures, maybe 2 measures, maybe 4 measures, and you just plug something in and try it out, it's incredibly easy to write a chord progression. You can pick a pattern. Here I'm just going, what is this, thumb, index, and then middle and ring together, and then index finger. So that's why I like to use this little grid thing, because it's like, let's just plug something in and see what happens. Now, one of the coolest things about, Tiffany says, I have never done this before. This is awesome for writing music. I get stuck on basic chords. Yeah, figure out the chords in a key, and then just practice plugging in some different options. Something I want to do really quick, maybe take a look at this in the chat if you want. If we have time, if someone gives me an option quickly, I'll play one of your suggestions. If you have a set of chords, maybe 4 chords that I could plug in that would sound good to you. Otherwise, I'm going to tinker with, we're going to actually make a little song today. I don't know what kind of song it'll be because we're improvising it, but, I mean, we're not improvising the song, we're writing it in real time, so I don't know how it's going to sound. But I've got this guitar sound queued up for my recording software, and I just want to get like a good, let's see. Yeah. Let's see. So someone is suggesting 6-5-1, which it would sound like this. Let me lay out the Roman numerals. By the way, when you're talking about chords, you always use Roman numerals. Roman numerals represent chords, and then Arabic numerals always represent single notes of the scale. So this would look like 6-5-1 would be G, G, F sharp minor, B minor, B minor. Let's see how that sounds. That's nice. So here you can see I'm just playing a G major, F sharp minor, B minor. That's a nice progression. Let's try it out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same kind of thing with recording software, where I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to throw together some kind of a beat. I'm not going to be precious about it. I'm just going to tinker, and we'll see if we can come up with something we like. And I've already queued up a, just a set of basic, basic things here. But I want to set it up so that you can hear it really well. Let's see. There we go. And let me just do one final little thing here. You don't usually do this when you're recording, but I want you all to hear this very nicely, so. There we go. That should be nice and loud. Hey, Graylight, good to see you. It's been a little while. Okay, so let me get a little tempo going here. What do we got? What do we got? I think that groove I was just playing, we could probably play it somewhere around here. 2, 3, 4. By the way, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I've got a MIDI controller here, so that I can just input sounds into the computer here. If you have more questions about how that works, let me know. But basically, that just recorded something called MIDI, which is I want to shut some of these windows here. MIDI records basically like music data. There we go. So we've got this grid of the beat here, and MIDI records just data for when those instruments should play. And you can fix the beat later. As you can see, I actually hit a button that just made it all go to perfect timing, just because I don't want to have to deal with anything out of time today. So let's try this chord progression that QWL suggested, which was 6-5-1, and on the iPad here, that would be 6-5-1. And in order to just make it fit a 4-bar grid, I just repeated the B minor for 2 measures. So we got basically 1, 2, 3, 4 on G, 1, 2, 3, 4 on F sharp minor, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on B minor. And I am not being precious here. There's an idea in music called block chords. And block chords are like, what's the bare minimum I can do for people to hear the tonality, to hear just the general gist of how the song works. And I might start with block chords, and then I might get a little fancier maybe once I write a bass line or maybe write a piano part. I don't know. But again, we're going G, F sharp minor, and B minor. Let's try it to that beat. Oh, and of course, I muted something. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, again, keeping it super, super simple for now, and let's hear how that sounds. It's going to sound exactly like it just did, I assume. There we go. Doesn't sound bad. Sounds kind of nice. So now, something we can do is we can grab the bass. And the bass typically just plays the root note of the chord. So it's actually tuned like the bottom 4 strings of a guitar, but an octave lower. And so instead of playing a chord, which can be cool sometimes, but instead of playing a chord, I'm going to play single notes that are the root notes of the chords. And we're going to keep building this in complexity and making it more interesting as we move along. But check out how this sounds to just play the root notes. You know, it's going to sound better when it's in tune. I think I bumped one of these tuners earlier. I still am trying to figure out a, let's see. There we go. Yeah, I definitely bumped this tuner earlier. I was like, man, that's not going to sound that nice. There we go. This is how live streams go. That's much more in tune. Let's try this again. Okay. There we go. So, that sounds nice, right? but we could make it sound nicer. And one way to do that is to check out the drum pattern here. And what we're going to do is we're going to listen to we've got this kick drum that's going bum, and you can actually see it. Right? When you look at this grid, this down here, that's the kick drum, that's the snare, these are called hi-hats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the root note on this note, and then I'm going to release the root note on this note. Then I'm going to play root, root on, so on every kick drum I'm going to play the root note of whatever chord is happening, and then I'm going to let go of that note on every snare. And this is the most basic way to think about the drums. So compared to what we were doing before, which is, which I've muted myself, compared to what we were doing before, instead of holding those notes, I'm going to release on that snare note, and then I'm going to match that kick pattern. So it's going to sound more like this. So that's the gist, and again, this is not like the most amazing bass part, but this is just level 2. And you can hear, it kind of locks in, it sounds pretty nice, right? This is sort of just like, still basic, basic bass concepts, but this is this makes a huge difference already. It makes it feel a little bit more groovy. Even just by itself. So now with your guitar part, what's cool about playing with a band or playing with other people is that you don't have to do the whole job by yourself. And that's part of why I played that block chord part instead of something a little fancier. Because if we start with something simple, we got a lot. We got a lot of stuff we can do. So now that the bass player is playing those low notes, it's actually kind of clashing with my low notes on my guitar. If you listen to, just listen to this recording. You hear that low, low, low frequency? Those low frequencies can actually clash with the bass sometimes. So what I would prefer to do, now that I have a bass player to play with, is I'm actually going to avoid my low strings. And I'm going to focus on, instead of playing this, I'm going to try to find some other voicings of those chords up here, like... And so I'm not actually going to touch those low strings, and it's going to make this sound a little bit more like I'm cooperating with the bass player instead of arguing with the bass player. Check this out. Right? Or I could do something like this. Or something like... Okay, so we got a question here, something to clarify. Tiffany is wondering, double checking, bass and kick are together on the kick beats? Yeah, let's check it out. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So when we zoom in here, you can see that these low lines right here, here, the kick is just perfectly matching up with the bass notes. So here's the bass, and here's the kick. Yeah. And this, by the way, this isn't a rule. You don't have to do this, but it's a fantastic just starting point to get the sense of you know, where to start on bass and how to make things feel kind of bassy. But it's not, it doesn't always have to be like that. It's all of this stuff is just general ways people tend to do things. So now, let's talk about what just happened. I played a guitar part. And if you listen, those low notes that used to be clashing with the bass, they're not there anymore. And that's because if we get really nerdy, this is basically the spectrum of sound that the human ear can hear. This is 20 hertz, this is about the lowest we can hear, and then up here 20,000 hertz is about the highest we can hear. So if I do this thing right here, this rolls off the sound, so anything in this orange area is essentially muted. And if we take the guitar, hang on a sec, let me just mute the bass real quick, so we can just focus on the guitar. If you listen to all these strings, if I start rolling this off, you're just hearing all these high frequencies now. Weird, huh? And this is all the low frequencies of the guitar. And if you notice, there's a little bit of stuff going on down here. But if I mute it, it doesn't take very much away from the sound of the guitar. If I do the reverse here and I start rolling off all this high end, so anything that's pink here is now muted, listen to how the sound of the guitar totally changes. This is just like weird noise down here. We don't need that. So that's why I'm getting rid of it. And that's why it's not clashing with the bass anymore. Because if you listen to the bass and you see all the frequencies that the bass takes up, it hangs out down here a lot more. See what I'm saying? And if I start rolling it off, it's still going to sound pretty much like the bass, even if I... Right, it's taken up this low frequency range. So part of what I'm thinking about when I play guitar is I'm thinking, how can I avoid stepping on the bass player's toes? And that very first thing that I played, if I show it, I want to show you the low frequencies that were in that guitar part. You see how low my guitar part went? It went all the way down here. And so that's what I mean when I say sometimes your guitar part can clash with the bass. And it can sound kind of weird. And that's why when I'm playing with a bass player, I tend to think about avoiding the bottom strings. In terms of the ranges that I take up, when I'm playing bass, when I'm playing with a bass player, I try to stay out of the bass range on my guitar, and the low strings of the guitar are more in the bass range, so I try to avoid them. And this is how you end up with parts that kind of go together a little more like this. So if anyone here is wondering, well, how do I avoid the bass range, or what do you mean by different voicings? This is the cool part that I want to talk about over here. Because before, what I played on that most basic pass was B minor, or excuse me, it was a G chord. It was an F sharp minor, and then it was a B minor. That's the basic thing I was playing, and you can hear those really low frequencies are all in there. But once you understand that a chord is just 3 notes, and you can kind of play them in any order you want, these are called voicings, right? B, D, and F sharp are the notes you need to make a B minor chord. But once you know that, you could play, there's a B minor chord, you could play this, there's a B minor chord, you could play something like this, and you can play really spread out versions of these chords. As long as you're playing one of each note, you're playing a B minor chord. It makes it super easy, it makes it fun. So that, where am I going? That's why I was saying instead of playing this G here, I was playing this one up here. That's still just G, B, and D. My guitar's a little out of tune. This room changes temperature so much. Oh well. That's a G minor or G major. This is an F sharp minor. As long as I have an F sharp, an A, and a C sharp, then I'm fine. And then this was the B minor I was playing. This, to me, this is like the beauty of just like the crazy variety you can have when you're playing guitar. There's more though too. There's other really cool things we can do. I'll let you vote. I might tinker with a few more things here, but some other really cool things you can do. First of all though, I gotta answer some questions. So QWL says, is that the benefit of a 5-string guitar, a 5-string bass, or in terms of range, a bass can go lower, but there's a certain lowness to a bass where our ears can barely tell like what note it is. So like once you get lower than this E, it's already kind of hard to tell what note is that. So 5-string basses are a thing, but they also only get you, you know, just a few notes lower than a typical bass. Kind of hangs out in a familiar range. So I don't know. Let's see. Oh, you removed your question. I didn't see it. But yeah, hopefully that helps you understand QWL. I'm going to get back into this. So the other thing I wanted to show you is with bass, there's a lot more to bass than just playing those root notes. And this is where we can talk about the anatomy of a chord, basically, because let's go back over here. I'm winging it, you guys. I'm just having some fun tonight. So when we play a B minor chord, it's called a B minor because that was the first note we started with. And then when we did the little every other note until we got 3 notes, those notes are called the root, the third, and the fifth of the chord. So it doesn't matter if you're starting on the first note of that B minor scale or if you're starting on the 6th note. Once you play that note and you go every other note, that means the G is the root note of the G chord, the B is the root note, or the B is the third of that chord, and the D is the 5th of that chord. So even though this is technically starting on the 6th note of the scale, it's still the root note of this chord. This is still the 3rd of that chord, the 5th of that chord. So the reason I'm bringing this up is that when you're playing bass, there's something kind of funny that happens, and I sort of hinted at it with the clashing thing I was talking about earlier, where there are chords that can have really beautiful dissonance. And dissonance is basically when you have notes that are about a half step apart. To a lot of our ears, like the, what is that? I don't know. I'm thinking of Twilight Zone, right? But that's tension. But sometimes tension can be really pretty. So if we're thinking of like, what would it be? Something like, right? Well, suddenly that's beautiful, but by itself, it's kind of tense. There's something weird and cool about music in general, where the higher the frequency, the less tense that tends to sound. And if you can sneak it into a chord, then that dissonance, for some reason, just feels... Somehow that dissonance feels deliberate. But I'm literally just playing an E and an F together. Weird, right? That's dissonance. Well, there's something weird about high frequencies versus low frequencies, and that is, there's a kind of, I think in like music physics you would call it beating, and that is, if you listen to these two notes that are in unison, as they get out, if I start pushing one a little sharp, you'll start to hear a physical beat that happens in there. Listen. You hear it going, and that is like the air essentially like pushing and pulling and fighting. And for high frequencies, you hear it. But for low frequencies, you feel it. And so when you play like when you play a G sharp and an A together, for example, down here low, you feel it. Compared to unison, that sounds fine. But then that beating that I was talking about, it moves the air, and the lower those frequencies go, the more it moves the air. And the reason I'm saying this is because when we think about chords, and when we think about instruments that play high frequencies and low frequencies, what we tend to get is we tend to get this stretch where the lower parts of chords tend to be spread out, and the higher parts of chords tend to be closer together, and that tends to be where the notes that are even closer together, like D and E, they're gonna feel a little better in the higher frequencies of a chord. Right? And if I were to play this D and this E simultaneously down here, which I didn't think of this example, but let's see. You're gonna get a little more dissonant and a little more of that beating. So why am I talking about this? Well, I'm talking about this because when it comes to bass and when it comes to low frequencies, bass players tend to focus on, and of course it's always tend to, there's always exceptions, but bass players tend to play the root note of the chord and the fifth of the chord, and they don't even play the third of the chord a lot of the time. So when you're writing a bass line and you're thinking of what to play on the bass, this thing that we played earlier, this was just root notes. Just root notes. But if I want to make this bass line a little fancier, I might play roots and fifths. And suddenly the bass line, oh, it might sound a little more interesting. Let's try it out. And this is going to lead to another thing that I'm talking about, which is bringing a little more fun and a little more dissonance and a little more complexity to the guitar. So on the bass, if I play a bass line that uses more roots and fifths, there's some other stuff I can do, but let's spice up this chord progression a little more. And I'll try to, I was playing a little fancy there, but I'll try to keep it simpler with that kick pattern. And tell me if you feel a difference. right? I'm trying to resist the urge to get a little fancier, but this is playing a bass line with roots and fifths. And it just makes things a little bit more interesting. And what I'm doing sometimes is I'm playing, instead of muting on that snare, I'm playing the fifth on that snare. And there's a lot more you could do with the bass. For some reason. It's back. That's fun. And everything seems like it's working. Okay, cool. That almost ended our stream. Anyhow, the other cool thing about bass actually I don't want to go there yet, because what I'd prefer to show you is another cool music theory thing that is very practical that can make your chords so much more interesting. So let me get a little transition here back to the camera guitar. Perfect. So something else I want to show you is that built into this chords in a key concept, you may have already seen a little hint at it before. That is that when we play every other note of the scale to get a chord, you might be wondering, well, why would we stop there? What if we keep playing every other note? And if we play every other note until we get 4 notes, those are called seventh chords, which makes sense, right? Because we've already got root, third, fifth. It just makes sense that if you leapfrog to another note, that would be called 7. And it turns out you can do this also for every chord in the key. So the one chord in the key of B minor can be a B minor chord, a B minor triad, but it can also be a B minor 7, which is just including an A in the chord. That's it. The 2 chord in the key is just C sharp, E, and G, but if we play every other note, we can add a B in there as well. And now this is called, if you're more jazzy, this is called a C sharp minor 7 flat 5, or you can call it a C sharp half diminished chord. When you get to the 3 chord in a minor key, this is D, F sharp, A, and if we add another every other, we get this beautiful chord called a major 7 chord. The classic beautiful chord, right? If we go to the 4 chord in the key and we play every other note until we get 4 notes, that would be E, G, B, and D. And this is basically just, not even basically, this is adding a D to an E minor chord, turns it into an E minor 7 chord. And of course there's many different voicings of this, but it's beautiful. When we go to the F sharp minor chord, F sharp, A, C sharp, we play another every other and we get an E in there. This is another minor 7 chord. Beautiful. And surprisingly easy. Then we get to the 6 chord and we play every other note and then add one more every other and we get we get an F sharp added to a G major chord, which gives us a G major 7. And there's all kinds of beautiful voicings of this chord. I love major 7 chords. So beautiful. And then we get to the 7 chord and we play every other note and we add one more and we get this unique chord called a dominant 7 chord, but you might just know it as A7. So, what do we do with this information? Well, what you can think about is the chords in the key, it's not just about naming them, it's also about knowing how you can make them fancier. Let's go back to the iPad here. So, for the chords in the key of B minor, the basic triads are the ones listed here, but the 7th chord versions of them are, we just put a slash to turn a diminished triad into a half diminished. And then this is a major 7, this is an E minor 7, this is an F sharp minor 7, this is a G major 7, this is an A7, and now we have just some slightly fancier chords. Let's plug them in here. So this is now a G major 7, this is now an F sharp minor 7, we got a B minor 7 and another B minor 7. Now, the other thing I want to talk about here is I've got 2 whole measures of this chord, and depending on the musical situation you're in, you might want these chords to feel like they're the same chord, or you might want them to feel like they're 2 different sections, kind of like these chords are 2 different sections. And in this case, I might play 2 different voicings of B minor 7. I might play one for this measure and a different one for this measure just to make it feel nice. Since I haven't planned this out, I don't actually know what I'm going to play yet, but let's figure this out together. So I think I love this voicing of G major 7. So I'm probably going to play this one. Hi, Gabrielle, or Gabriel. Here, I'll show you a little better. This voicing, this is the root note, and then we've got the 5th, the 7th, the 3rd. Beautiful. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to fiddle around. That's my favorite way to do it, and it might not sound good at first because, guess what? This is writing music. This is not a performance of something I've written before. I'm figuring it out live. I'm showing you my process. It's kind of fun. Let's see what we can come up with here. I don't know yet. Oh. I kind of like that. There's something there. I want to kind of organize it a little bit better, but this was that G major 7, and then I went to this F sharp minor, and then I just played the 7 of the chord instead of the root. Then I went to this B minor right here, and because I'm playing these 4 notes, I can throw in the 7 here, and then I played this other voicing up here. And you know what I just realized? I'm going to show it to you on the camera guitar so you can see exactly what I came up with. I just really like the tone on the computer better. So, I did this. I'm going to play a little quieter because I don't want to blast your ears, but that's the G major 7, and then I went here to just an F sharp minor chord, but when I lift my pinky, it actually reveals the 7 of the chord. Now, this is I'm just playing an A major chord now all of a sudden. Uh-oh. This is an F sharp minor, F sharp, A, C sharp, but now when I play this, oh shoot, I'm just playing an A major, except when you're playing with a bass player, the bass player is playing that root note down here, so that means you don't always have to. And this is one of the weird things about playing music with other people, is if the bass player is playing the root note, your chord may not have a root note in it, but that doesn't mean you're not contributing to the chord. So right here, I'm playing A, C sharp, E, but when I'm playing this chord with a bass player, It's actually F sharp, A, C sharp, E, which means this is an F sharp minor chord when I'm playing with a bass player. And so that's why that little pinky added and removed, that's why I'm not playing an A major chord here, basically. And then I scooched up here to this. And this is B, D, F sharp, and A, which is every other note of a B minor scale until I have 4 notes. This is a B minor 7. And the cool thing is, if I want to add a note here, the same thing is happening. Well, shoot, this just turned into a D major chord when I added my pinky here, except the bass player is still playing a B, which means this is still some kind of B minor chord. And then I added my pinky here to just make it extra 7-y. And then I snuck up here to play this B minor, and then I lifted my finger to reveal the 7 of the chord. And again, running into the same, not really a problem, which is I'm playing a D chord, but the bass player is still playing a B, which means B, D, F sharp, A, which means I'm actually playing a B minor 7 chord. So, let me know if you got questions. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if that's too crazy. And while you're doing that, I'm just gonna play this. Let's do it. Let's see. Come on. Let's get all the buttons to work, right? 2, 3, 4. And then we've got a little thing here. So now, if you wanted to play with a keyboard player or something, what would you do? Or maybe you want to write a melody to this. What do you do? I kind of like this, so I'm going to keep working on it. One of the things about writing while I'm setting this up is that you don't have to like everything you write. And sometimes I write just to practice writing, and I don't really worry about whether or not I actually like it. Writing stuff you like maybe happens sometimes 1 out of 10 times, maybe 1 out of 5 times, maybe 1 out of 50 times some days. I've written a lot of stuff that I've never finished because I didn't like it that much. So let's see. I gotta remember how to play keyboard. I have a confession. I don't play keys very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this poorly, and then I'm going to fix it after I play it. But what I'm trying to think about here is, what job can the keyboard have? I like this guitar. I think I want to give it a touch more reverb. So, a keyboard player basically could contribute to the glue and just kind of keep bring some nice sparkle and sheen without contributing to the rhythm. Let's just hear how that sounds. And I may want to tinker with the range. I'm going to start high like this, but I have a hunch I want it to be an octave lower. Let's see here. Okay. So, like I said, I want to fix it later. Let me close this window. I think my timing is all right, but let's see here. I played a wrong note, and so I fixed it in time. It's too loud. That sounds pretty good, actually. I'm going to loop it. And what we're going to do is we're going to see if it clashes with the guitar. Once I get it, I'm going to turn it all the way down, and then I'm going to mix it up into the mix. Now, here's a kind of a cool, sneaky, weird thing. In the same sense that a bass player can play the root note of the chord, but can also play the fifth, especially if it's like leading somewhere else. Like, you don't usually play the fifth at the start of the beat. You play it to lead back to the one, or you play it to lead to the next chord. So like, listen to the bass player for a second and think, root 5, root 5, root 5, root 5, root. There's like using that 5, just the note, to switch to the next chord. Well, sometimes when you're playing rhythm, you can actually play an extra chord, and that's what I did here with the keys. Right here, just switching measures here, I'm definitely playing this B minor chord, but then, what the heck? I just played an A major chord? Doesn't that clash? What the heck? Let's hear the lead up to that chord and see if it clashes. Here's the B minor. A. Why doesn't that sound bad? It kind of, if you just listen to it by itself, to some really chaotic single beat, that A is clashing with that B minor, but because it's sort of doing the same thing the bass player is doing, which is like, this is leading somewhere, so you can get away with playing, especially this particular chord. That's a fun little rhythm instrument trick that kind of works, is that once you have that gridded chord progression, the keyboard is technically going 1, 2, 3, and playing A on the 4th beat. Just a quick little A on one beat. It's not going to hurt anybody. It actually sounds kind of cool. And these are sort of the freedoms you get as a rhythm player when you're thinking less about these are the chords to the song, and more here's chords in a key, here's the chord progression, how can I tinker with it and elevate it. So the thing I want to look at here is, is this going to sound better high up like this? Or is it going to sound better lower? And what I want to do is I want to actually look at the EQ for both of these instruments and just hear how they clash. They sound pretty good together, to be honest, but let's just check out the EQ of both of them. So let's see, here's our master EQ. And I'm going to listen to the guitar and see where it's poking up the most. Around here, around here. Now let's listen to this keyboard. It's poking up around here the most. It sounds fine, but let's just see where it ends up if we do it an octave lower. And where does it end up now? Ooh, it's a much thicker down here. And it might actually glue things together a little bit better. Let's see how it sounds just with the guitar. They feel a little more separate like that. So let's hear how it sounds in the mix. Sounds pretty nice. I'm gonna just roll a little bit of that low end off. So now we can kind of compare. How's it sound without the guitar? Sounds great. Kind of nice, right? It actually makes me want to turn the guitar down a little bit. I'm getting lost a little bit. I want the production to be a little tighter. So, how do melodies work? If you want to write a melody to something like this, what does that mean? What is a melody? Do you just play the scale? What's the scale? We got a B. Do I just go ma na 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 na? Am I melodying? Na 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 na. What is a melody? Well, let's talk about it. Melodies are not just scales. Melodies have a nice mix of skips and jumps. Skipping a note or a few notes of the scale, right? Jumping an interval versus moving through the scale. So, going along the scale like we just did is, na 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 na, and skipping notes might be going na 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 na, trying to jump higher and lower. That's part of it. Another part of it is thinking in little snippets and motifs. And what a motif is essentially like a sort of like our bass line is a motif. It's got a rhythm to it. Ba 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 da ba 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 da. Right? That is a motif. We're going, this is the rhythm, ba 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 ba, and we have a kind of a vague idea of same, high. That's a motif, and we shift that motif to different notes, but it maintains the same kind of structure. Melodies do this too, but melodies tend to repeat motifs and then sort of like refresh. So if we pick a motif for this, which maybe I need a little reverb to sell it a little better. I have a way to do that. Let me see. Check, check. Hey. Whoa. Check. Hey. Let's see if this works. Let me find a little motif here. I feel like I'm giving a lecture at some like enormous empty hall, which is probably like a lot of my live streams. Thank you for being here. So let's see. We got a motif is a very short little snippet of something, and it has a mix of these skips and steps. And I like to think of it as having kind of one little interesting quirk to it, which could be a rhythmic thing or could be an unexpected timing thing, but it doesn't have to be. I'll show you. Let's experiment. So we got that's a motif. That's it. We got one. I don't know, no, no. So what we do is that's a jump. Sorry. That's a jump. Da, da. And then we walk ma, na, na, up the scale. That's a motif. I'll do it again. Ba-dum, ba-da-dum. So now, what do we do with that? And why won't this mute? There we go. So what we do with that, we got our little motif. I'm going to just do it in just general. These lines just represent high and low. It's going ba, 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 ba. Right, this isn't real sheet music, this is just representing the idea, right? We start high. Da, da, then we repeat that note. Da, na, na. So what I can do is figure out, can I repeat this same general idea over the next chord? If it sounds like this over the first one, ba-da, ba-da-da. How can I make a similar sounding thing over this chord? Ba-da, ba-da-da. That kind of works. Ba-da, ba-da-da. I don't like it, but it does work. So now what I have is I have my, what I like to call my A phrase, my original motif, and then my B phrase, which is similar, but not the same. Right? Similar but different. So we've got, I'm going to try it. We'll take a stab at it. And let's put the reverb back on to try to sell it a little more here. So we got da da ba da da ba da ba da da. See how it works. Da da na 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 da da ba da 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 na 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 da 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 da. That works. So, here's my favorite part. A phrases and B phrases are similar. We like B phrases to be similar, but what we have now is a, we need a very different color. We're going to go with pink. C phrase is very different. So this one is similar but different. C phrase is very different. And the cool thing here is we've got our grid, and the grids don't always, the melodies don't always do this, but we've got our grid that is B minor, or sorry, it's G, G, F sharp minor, B minor, B minor. And it looks like the way that our phrases are working here is, I may have to actually adjust some stuff here so our phrases will all fit. Oops, wrong button. There we go. Thank you. Okay. Whoa. What are we doing? Copy. Paste. There we go. It was worth it, I promise. So our A phrase ba-dum, ba-da-da, is actually over this G and F sharp minor. And then our B phrase is over this B minor, B minor. Ba-dum, ba-da-dum. So we could come up with a C phrase that would either go over this section, or what I think I would prefer to do is to have a C phrase that comes up over this section and then repeat the A phrase. And this is, to me, this is the secret sauce of writing melodies, is fitting 3 phrase ideas over 4 sections. In other words, we have only 3 options. We've got A, B, and C, but we chose to fit them over this pattern of 4. And this, to me, makes anything sound musical. And what my favorite thing about C phrases is I could probably improvise something and it's going to be like, oh, that sounds like a song now. And it's just because this pattern makes things feel musical. A phrase, ba-dum, ba-da-da, sort of sets the scene. And then the B phrase, because it's similar but different, ba-dum, ba-da-da, you go, oh, those two, they're friends, they're related. Then you hear the A phrase again, ba-dum, ba-da-da, you don't mind it. You go, oh, that's nice. What are they going to do next, though? And this is where you trick people and you go, I'm not going to do B again. I'm going to do something brand new. And it just feels nice to go, oh, you set up this expectation that you were going to do B again, but you didn't. And you tell me if this sells it. I got to think of a C phrase, though. I would improvise it if I was on my own, but But let's see how this works. A, B, A, C. So let's do it. Da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, bum, da-dum, ba-da-dum, da-dum, da-da-dum, da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, da-dum. I mean, I improvised that C phrase both times, but you feel like it's like, oh, it sounds like a song, and that's the secret, in my opinion, of A phrases, B phrases, and C phrases. It's just like, wow, yeah, that feels very musical. So we got some good questions here that I'd like to clarify. One of the questions was from Gabriel Nunez. I can't tell from your picture. The melody that you're singing are following the notes of the chord? ? Yes. That's another big thing. I do have a melody making course on my Patreon if you want to learn more about melody making. And yeah, I do this for a living. I do it on YouTube sometimes, and I do it on Patreon all the time. So I have a weekly live stream where you can ask me any questions. I have the same setup. I've got hundreds of lessons on these types of things. I love writing. I just did a writing session with a singer in Seattle this past weekend. And I love writing. Writing's the best. But yes, for your question, the melody that I'm singing is following it's sort of following notes of the chord and notes of the scale. And we can get into the camera guitar again, because this is another important thing to think about. When you're writing a melody, melodies are, we were talking about the arrangement of the melody, A, B, A, C. Those have nothing to do with what notes you're playing. They're just labels that we put on the phrases, right? But let's put the notes of a B minor chord in here. B, D, F sharp. So, oh wait, I forgot. I keep thinking this starts with a B minor. It starts with a G chord. So, let's see. So what's interesting about this melody is it starts on the third of the chord. Na, 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 na. And what's interesting about it is it jumps to the 7 of the chord. It jumps to this F sharp. So we've got B, F sharp, but then it moves to this F sharp minor almost immediately, and it goes F sharp, G, A, and the F sharp minor chord here, F sharp, A, C sharp. And it ends on a note that's part of that chord. So it goes, of the G chord, it goes 3rd, 7, and then 1, 2, 3, basically root walk to the 3rd. And that's the A phrase. So when you're writing melodies, it's always, none of these are really hard and fast rules, right? But they're guidelines to help you make things that sound more familiar, right? So it makes a melody sound familiar and relatable when you start on a note of whatever chord is happening right now. So when we've got da, oh, I started on B, which is the 3rd of the chord. Da, da, and then I move to the 7 of the chord, which is a little more dissonant, but sounds nice. Da, da, and then here, ba, da, da, I'm starting on a note. I mean, not starting, but I'm ending up on a note of this chord, blah, da, da, and then I'm also ending the phrase on a note that's part of the chord. Now, when we go to the B phrase, which is B, D, F sharp. I almost said be yourself. Na. The next phrase starts on F sharp, which is again the fifth of B minor. Na, na. And it jumps down to D, which is the third of the chord. Na, 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 na. Very simple. F sharp, D, D, E, F sharp. It's a very simple melody, and by itself, da, da, na, na, na. There's nothing special about it, but because it feels like it's a cousin of that first phrase, it really feels like it belongs. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. And some of those improvised phrases is following the same rules. I'm starting on a note of the chord and walking through the scale. Na, 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 na. So, one of the most fun and funny things you can do with a melody like this is you can give it some BS lyrics. You can essentially pretend that it has. You can essentially just pretend that. Whoa, excuse me. You can pretend that you've got some lyrics going on by just making stuff up, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this really sounds like a song. Let me see if I can do this. Da, da, ma, na, na. I'm gonna make something up. We'll see how it goes. I've been calling you. I can't know if I want it. I've been running around trying to find you. Let's see how that sounds. I recorded that, but I don't think it included the reverb when I recorded it. Let's see here. I can add some reverb here, and now we've got a fake song. I've been calling you. I can't know if I want it. I've been running around trying to find you. I've been calling you. I can't know if I want it. I've been running around trying to find you. It's not a song, but it's a start to a song. Kind of fun. Yeah. So, I've been chugging along here for about an hour and a half. Thanks for watching. Does anyone have any questions for me? Do you want to just hang out for a minute? I might take a break from writing, but yeah, Magna and Tiffany and Gabriel or Gabrielle and QWL, and also Wiregrass. Thanks for hanging out. This is I love doing this, and I want to do it more. And I kind of, it's just a few of us here. I'm kind of feeling like teaching lessons is great, but there's something special about just demonstrating live that with just some pretty basic knowledge, you can kind of expand to make something fairly simple sound really interesting. And, of course it takes practice to develop those skills and those tools, but it's also really fun to develop those things. I I also, I kind of just want to hear what this sounds like, as if it was just like the verse of a song without the guitar part. It's going to sound very different without that guitar part. Check this out. I've been calling you. I can't know if I want it. I've been running around trying to find you, I've been calling you. It sounds better with just keys, honestly. With the guitar, I've been calling you. I feel like what I would do if I were going to continue to develop this is I would either make the verse really chill with like guitar strums, you know, simpler strums, beautiful strums, and this keyboard, and then maybe as like a pre-chorus I would bring in that guitar. Or I would use that rhythm as like a chorus vibe to bring the energy up. It would be really fun. Yeah, anyhow, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I know a few of you did, and I'm grateful for you being here. If you like what I do here, you might really like my Patreon, because part of what I do is a weekly writing challenge where I write a little something like this. I talk about what I'm doing, but I also have a forum where you can upload something you wrote based on that lesson. And every community challenge I do is different. Sometimes it's just like write something in the key of E minor. Sometimes it's like write something using a particular technique, or write something sad, or you know, it varies. And it's a lot of fun to hear what the people in my community are writing. You don't have to be an expert. It's a place to learn. Everyone is super, super friendly. It's really fun. It's like $12 a month for hundreds of lessons and a weekly Q&A like this. If you like that, come check it out. Anyhow, I think I'm going to call it a night. So thank you so much for hanging out with me here, and I'll see you all next time. I got to make this a regular thing again. I'm really trying. Thank you. See you all later. Bye.